What's up, everybody? Welcome into a Thursday edition of the Slate. You know what that means? Sports. We're going to mix it up. Go heavy NFL, little NBA, NHL on the back end of the program. Adam Kaufman here with you as always. And of course, this dynamic duo that typically joins on this day as well. Gary and Thorne, who I shouldn't dismiss because he is always here on Thursday. And Jeff Ulrich typically makes time for us as well. It's good to see both of you. Gary, and a quick question before we get started, because we're not really going to talk baseball beyond this. Where is Carlos Correa signing with later on tonight?
Oh, it's really up in the air. I mean, they think they've made it official by making it official and having a press conference, but no. History has taught us anything.
Anything could happen.
There are more stories in this Carlos Correa saga, to be sure.
I mean, didn't he go and actually work out as a member of the Mets, had the gear on his kids, all that? So, yeah, this thing could fall apart at a moment's notice.
I mean, the story goes that he was holding a Correa Giants jersey like in a green room at the Giants press conference when news broke that he would not be signing that contract. So, I mean, truly, I think baseball was announced yesterday, just had its like most profitable year of all time. So this whole like baseball is dead thing. I know DraftKings has a podcast also negating that very principle. But the Correa stuff, this has been great for baseball. This is really the hilarious, weird, drama-filled stuff that the NBA has kind of cornered the market on. We need more Carlos Correa sagas in baseball.
I'm all about it. But let's mix in some NFL because, of course, after a long, arduous, injury-filled, and certainly a season of ups and downs, a regular season is now behind us, guys. Time to jump into the postseason, which we wondered as recently as like a week ago if it would even start on time. It is 6 games this weekend, or at least spanning Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Jeff, let's start with you. Key injuries, key things that you're watching for that are going to impact how you're going to bet this weekend.
I think we got most of the key injury news, like the main stuff. Obviously there's still things to watch, like who the Dolphins are going to start. I don't know if Bridgewater's been officially ruled out yet. Gary can certainly probably tell me
Seems
that,
like he's not going to play.
It really, it seemed like that all week. So I think that you can pretty safely plan there for Skylar Thompson. So that's obviously the big thing. And then, what's going on with the Ravens a little bit too, but I'm not expecting too much to change from now and then. I think there's a couple other things to look for, like Jeff Wilson Jr., Raheem Mostert, how that necessarily pans out, and also with the Chargers, Mike Williams. But honestly, these aren't spots that are going to affect me too much for betting. It's more of like DFS thing. I think Jeff Wilson Jr. could be an interesting play there, to be honest. I think the Dolphins are going to try and run the ball. And Wilson could just get there from volume. And then, Williams being out.
And there's some weird, maybe underground Tua might play traction on Tuesday night. That drops the line to 8.5. And then as soon as we find out on Wednesday in the first minute of Mike McDaniel's press conference that Tua will not be playing, this number shoots back up to 13. I still think you can bet the Bills. I think the fact that it's not right on that 14-point swing number, that's still really nice. You would have preferred to get it earlier in the week, but I still think there's an opportunity there. I just don't see how Miami moves the football. They barely did so against the Jets. Aside from that, though, you're looking at a lot of lines like Vikings Giants. I think I could have picked that line 9 weeks ago if you told me that was going to be the playoff game. I mean, that line screams, we have no faith in either of these teams. Who's at home? We'll give them 3 points. And I might just take the Giants there. I mean, that's how far out I am on the Vikings in general. I think the Giants, at the very least, know what they are. They're a team that will just stress defensive integrity, give Saquon the ball, and let Daniel Jones sort of do enough where he flourishes and can kind of show his skill set, but limit him to the point where he can't make some sort of back-breaking mistake. But then you have to bet on Daniel Jones in a playoff game, which doesn't seem overly fun. So I would say leaning towards the Dolphins. I think with the news that Lamar Jackson is not expected to play this weekend, I'm also fine taking the Bengals at any number below 10. I think that game could get a little sloppy in its own right. But yeah, I think the Chargers are interesting. But Mike Williams is so key for them. I mean, we really saw when their offense was at its best and really when their team was at its best. I mean, it makes sense. It's when they had Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, because Joe Lombardi is not exactly the best guy at creating space with schemes, as we've seen this season. So you kind of need a Mike Williams who you can throw the ball to with zero separation and have some confidence that he's going to come down with it. So I'd be a little worried, but at the same time, I just think the Jaguars defense is just not up to like playoff standard necessarily. I do think that Trevor Lawrence could maybe do enough, but I would probably lean Chargers in that way too. And that's sort of my early leans.
Jeff, I guess I can't really think of a better way to ask this other than, is there a fan base out there that has a yeah, but gripe about them right now? And what I mean by that is, if the Dolphins did have Tua, if the Ravens did have Lamar this weekend, yeah, you'd expect to have closer spreads, but do you actually think Miami or Baltimore would be winning those games? Or do you think it's going to be, mostly a pretty chalky wild card weekend?
I mean, let me phrase it this way. The favorite I'm not going to bet right now. And you could have bet them at 6.5 and you should have when they were 6.5. And I told people to do that on Monday, is the Bengals. The Bengals' last loss came to a division opponent with a good defensive line, and their O-line just got dominated. And, if they put Joe Burrow on the ground 5 times, and that is something the Ravens could do. So I think the Ravens have the biggest, if you want to say out there where they say, oh yeah, if we had Lamar, because if they could just move the ball a little bit, they did beat the Bengals in a similar game, like 1917. So I'm still a little bit, I'd be a little bit scared if I was the Bengals fan. Honestly, if there's an upset this week, I think that's where it could come. Now I'm not betting on it. I'm just staying away because I don't think that the Bengals are going to lose, but I could see the Ravens keeping that sloppy and keeping and covering. So that's the one favorite that I'm kind of just out on for betting. I hope the Bengals win because I just want to see Joe Burrow keep playing football. But the favorite and Gary, it's basically just in line with what Gary said. I think you can totally bet the Bills at this number. I think you can bet the Bills, right up to 14. I think you can bet the Bills team total. I think Josh Allen's going to drop 40 points here. I really do. You give the Bills now a solid week of preparation. I think their defense is going to be better as well. I mentioned the Dolphins ran the ball a little bit, and they'll try and do that, but there's just so much going up against the Dolphins here. It's just unraveled so quickly, and it's unfortunate, but I just don't think that this one's going to be anything close. So the Bills are the big favorite. I'm still in on. Definitely should have grabbed them early in the week, but I still think that's the side to be on. A little bit of interest too, and the Seahawks potentially covering, but I don't even know if you need to do that. The 49ers are just, oh man, they're just such a good team that I got respect for Geno Smith, and Pete Carroll's kind of in that Mike Tomlin mold where he finds ways to cover and makes games like this close. But I don't know, man. This is it's a pretty tall task. So right now the Bills are definitely on my card. I think that the Chargers and the Jags are a great target for DFS with Etienne and Keenan Allen. I think that they have such good matchups there. So not sure necessarily. I'm probably just going to take the plus money on the Jags, especially now it's getting up. I like that side, but it's not my favorite spot. I think right now the Bills, and actually surprisingly enough, I'm going against Gary. And I do like the Vikings this week.
So why don't we, just because we have the time to do it, it's a Thursday, there's no Thursday night football. We will get to the other sports a little bit later, as I mentioned, but I don't know, I think it'd be fun for any bettors out there debating what direction to go. Let's go game by game, but we're not going to break down every facet of every game. We don't have time for that, but we'll go game by game with both of you. Gary, and we'll start with you here with this first one, the Seahawks and Niners. What I want to know from you guys, if there's a bet right now, or what the bet is right now that you like from that game. Now, it could be obviously the spread, the point total, the money line. If you want to dive into a player prop, I'll leave that up to you as well. But just one bet that jumps out at you from this specific game. And like I said, we'll start Seattle and San Francisco.
I would actually say I'm kind of on the over here. Now, we did see these two teams play a Thursday nighter. I think it was week 15, I want to say. And that was Brock Purdy started that game. We kind of have all the ingredients in that contest we'll have in this game, save for Deebo Samuel being active for this game, which adds another element, obviously, to that 49ers offense. But look, I don't think the Seahawks are nearly Cardinals level bad, but we saw what this 49ers team can do last week. They can hang 38 points on you. It's not out of the realm of possibility. That's just what you get when you have a Mike Shanahan offense. And I think the Seahawks, their defense, it can be hit or miss. They've had games, and they are a team that definitely can force some turnovers. They've got one or two good edge rushers on that team, so they can make stuff happen. But in a general sense, they are a break more than bend defense. And I think San Francisco can take advantage of that. And, when you start getting into these games that are, 30 plus points on the one side, you really only need the Seahawks to score a touchdown or two. And, they did not move the ball well in that game against the 49ers. I think they only had 3 points at halftime. Their touchdown was sort of a garbage time touchdown, although it had some bearing on the game, I guess. But yeah, I just think the 49ers can do a lot of the heavy lifting here against a Seahawks defense that just is not good overall, and is going up against one of the offenses I would say is the most efficient in the NFL.
Jeff?
Yeah, this is probably like my least favorite game for betting. But I don't mind targeting like Brock Purdy here. And it's mainly actually on the unders. Passing attempts, this line has moved. But if you go 28.5, take the under on the passing attempts. He's gone over this once in his last 5 games. It's just a really easy Seahawks team to run on. And Deebo Samuel's back. Like, Kyle Shanahan is going to make this as easy as possible on Brock Purdy in his first playoff game. I guarantee you that. And unless the Seattle gets some plays, or maybe they get a fumble recovery touchdown or something early in the game, this one's going to be tough to go over. So I really like that under. It's down to minus 140 now, which sucks, because it was like minus 115 yesterday. But the other one I don't mind, and you can get a better line on this, is Geno Smith versus Brock Purdy in the passing yards line. I'm surprised that this is basically just straight up. I think Geno is just going to have more opportunity late in the game. He's just going to be dropping back more because he's going to have to. So I like that one too. Heads up. Yeah. Again, it's an even line. There's no spread to cover. It's just whoever gets the most passing yards. I like that one. So again, this wasn't my favorite game to bet, but I definitely like that Purdy line. Hit up that prop yesterday. And honestly, even with the juice, I kind of feel like minus 140 until it moves down. Like, it's not terrible. So.
All right, let's go into the next game then. Jeff, we'll start with you on this one. The Chargers at our own Emerson Lotzi's Jacksonville Jaguars. I feel like there's at this point in time, and this is largely motivated by himself and nobody else. There is no one that is more associated with this team than he is. So go right ahead.
He certainly made himself the center of attention. Anyways, I'm gonna stick with this pass attempts theme, and this line, you're getting a better one, 35.5 to go under Trevor Lawrence, 35.5 pass attempts. Teams against the Chargers average about 29 pass attempts per game this year. Another easy run defense, another easy team to run against. Travis Etienne's gonna have a monster game here. Trevor Lawrence also took a season high 29 design rush attempts in his last game. So I just don't think you're going to see him dropping back that much. I really like the alt lines on Travis Etienne this week as well. Like, taking him for like 75 plus or to 100 plus, even a plus 220. I'm fine with that. I really think he's going to absolutely explode here. I mean, this is the Chargers defense that just allowed 103 yards to Latavius Murray on 15 carries. Like, the difference between Etienne and Murray at this point in their careers is so vast. So I think those are two things to target right there. I like those props quite a bit. And you can even look for them to combine something like that in the same game parlay. So,
Gary?
Yeah. Like I said before, I think in general, I'm sort of leaning towards the over and towards the Chargers minus 2.5 here. But in terms of props, this is somewhat, I wouldn't say it's correlated. It's not something you need to have happen, but it's correlated with the Mike Williams injury and with him not being 100%. But I think even if Mike Williams plays, I'm perfectly fine with taking Keenan Allen over 6.5 receptions. I mean, this is someone who, since he's been at full health over the final month of the season, he's got like a 35% target share. And that's pretty much in line with the Keenan Allen we know in this offense with Justin Herbert. And the other thing to consider with Keenan Allen, target share is never an empty stat, but it's an incomplete stat. Like, you need to make the catch. Targets don't get you receptions or fantasy points. They're just the potential for that. Keenan Allen, his ADOT is so small that generally speaking, he has one of the highest catch percentages in the NFL. I mean, some of the best hands in the NFL and a great route runner as well, but these are not, generally speaking, high difficulty targets. These are 5-yard, 7-yard targets. So he doesn't even need 14 targets like he's been getting to go over 6.5 receptions. He only needs like 10. So I think in a game that could be relatively high scoring, should be back and forth, I think it's going to be a relatively neutral script. I think Keenan Allen can go over this number pretty easily.
We just put together like the perfect same game parlay. Keenan Allen over, you get Etienne over on the other side, and then Trevor Lawrence under in his pass attempts. I mean, they all correlate. There you go, man. I don't even know. We're making people money here.
See, you guys weren't even doing that on purpose. That's just people helping people, working together really well. Garion, not only because it is our pattern, but we have to start with you here because it is your team, and that is the Miami Dolphins. Without Tua, in all likelihood, Skylar Thompson, like we talked about earlier, at Buffalo in a game that, look, should be ugly. The question is, will it be, and will it be as ugly as the odds makers have it at?
Well, look, I am someone who watched every second of that Dolphins-Jets game where I believe only 3 plays were run inside the red zone. That's not going to be the case this week. Obviously, the Bills are going to be in the red zone quite a bit. So I'm just taking a look at some alternate spreads here, because I think that's honestly where my mind might go in this sense. Like Bills minus 20.5 is plus 215. So maybe take a look at that. Like I think there's a realistic chance that this game just gets completely out of sorts. I'm a big proponent of something that happened 20 years ago does not matter in terms of trends for this weekend's games. I will point out, just from my own sad fandom memory, I don't think the Dolphins have lost a playoff game by less than 20 points since I've been 7 years old. So history says the Dolphins are terrible in the playoffs, and they tend to be. It's like the Dolphins, I think they practiced today without their top 5 options at right and left tackle. They're on their 3rd string quarterback, who's a rookie 7th round pick. Raheem Mostert just broke his thumb. They've had 1 cornerback the entirety of the season. I think Byron Jones is a figment of my imagination. This is just a bad team.
What happened to Byron Jones this year? I can't even remember. What
he was like maybe going to be activated for week 1 against the Patriots. They put him on IR being like, he'll be back in 4 weeks. And then nothing, just never again. So yeah.
Those wideouts though, man.
Look, great wideouts. And I think Jeff's right, though. They're going to have to run the ball. And look, they did run the ball pretty well against the Bills in that Saturday game a few weeks back, but a lot of that was Raheem Mostert. He had the better game than Jeff Wilson, and a lot of that was with an offensive line that is much healthier then than it was now. Teron Armstead was playing in that game. It just looks like this is going to go terribly for the Dolphins. I mean, it's a funny situation where, as a Dolphins fan, I would have much preferred if like 3 feet of snow was going to hit this game, because that's the only way the Dolphins had a chance with like weird circumstances of weather. I just don't see how they keep this thing close. So again, realistic bet that you can make right now, I think it's perfectly fine to back the Bills minus 13. But yeah, if you want to get a little saucy and try to get some plus money, I think if an alternate spread of like 20, 21 points, it's not a terrible idea.
Ironic that the team from Miami would be rooting for snow too. I like the concept. Moose, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just like how much risk you want to take on and how big you think it can get. You can get Buffalo over 3.5 touchdowns. The Buffalo team total is now moved up to 28.5, but you're getting plus money. I like Garion's idea too. Just take the monster spread total. I mean, there's no like late game scenario here where Skylar Thompson's like putting up like a couple garbage touchdowns. At least I don't think there is. So I think the O line is definitely something to think about. There's just, I don't know, like, and like they move the ball a little bit on the ground, but I mean, the Bills are just, they're going to tune them. So yeah, this one's pretty simple. I'm looking at alt lines like that as well. And the Buffalo team total as things to bet.
Some of your options there in front of you for just a hot second, but you know where to find them on the DraftKings Sportsbook, obviously. So we continue on. We're halfway home as far as this little subject goes, and that's continuing on Sunday when you got the 3 games, the Giants and Vikings. We already touched on it a little bit. Gary, and you were talking about how there has to be a favorite in theory, so give it to the home team, obviously, with the 3 points. Jeff, what direction are you going with in this one, if you were to go in one at all?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things I like. I'll talk about the Vikings straight up, not straight up on the spread first. I mean, I do kind of lean that way. There's multiple reasons. I mean, the Giants had a lot of trouble with Justin Jefferson. Now you got KJ Osborne also playing well. I just think that the Vikings are a team who's been, like everyone's trendy upset pick this week is the Giants. And you've got a Vikings team who's played an 11 one-possession wins. Like, they know what they're doing here. I mean, that like it's not like a shock to their system here. They're not a team who's like been losing coming in. They've been playing games like this all year. So the Vikings, this is just another week. And I think that, there's a level of disrespect for that and saying, you can say all you want, but, we have this record and you want to make us our upset pick? Fine. Like, I think they're going to come out and put up a bunch of points and really force the Giants kind of out of their comfort zone with Daniel Jones. Now, that scenario led to like a 3-point game in the last time. But in that game, remember, like the Giants closed at 3.5. They opened at 5. Like the line was different. The Giants were definitely the play there, but we're not getting the 3.5 this week. We're getting 3. And, like I still think that Minnesota has the best unit of this game which is their offense. So like I like the Vikings at 3. Do I wish it's 2.5? Obviously, but I'm going to take the Vikings. I think there's a chance you could see them, put up like a touchdown or so win. And I also like Richie James Jr. for props. One scenario here of the Vikings putting up a ton of points is just, 40 plus dropbacks from Daniel Jones. Richie James in the slot, really, really nice targeting over his last couple games, averaged 9 targets over his last 2 games. I think looking at him as an alt-line target, plus 250, 75 plus yards, plus 550, 100 yards. I think he's going to be key in the Giants moving the ball. So again, the Giants will score some points too, but I think it'll be too much. I kind of like the Vikings here -3.
Gary, since you don't necessarily feel passionate one way or the other about the teams, if I'm understanding you right anyway, is it player props that you're more apt to delve into?
Yeah, I mean, again, I would say if I had to pick someone on the spread, I would just take the points here. I don't feel great about either side, but yeah, I think the prop market's probably more interesting. I would say just off the top, if you're a person who likes first touchdown bets, which I think we all do in our heart of hearts, Irv Smith, 22-1 might not be a terrible way to go. Just in general, your sort of backup tight ends on these single game slates or these primetime games are always kind of fun to bet. I feel like Irv Smith's probably going to have like a limited number of snaps. He's going to be in on particular packages, and I'm sure some of those packages will be the goal line packages. So not a terrible sort of like just flyer bet to place on this game. Sticking with the touchdown market, I think anytime you can get even money for Justin Jefferson to find the end zone, not a terrible bet to make. Just considering how targeted he is in the red zone for the Vikings, plus 100 seems like a pretty good number, and sort of in lockstep with Jeff in the sense that there's a very realistic chance that the Vikings are able to score points in this game and that it forces the Giants to sort of have to play catch up and maybe not play to the elements they would necessarily want to play to. That has me looking at Daniel Jones over 241.5 passing yards. I think there's going to be some volume there. And on top of that, the Vikings pass defense is putrid. They were giving up for the longest time the most yards per opponent pass attempt in the NFL. I think that tapered off a little bit towards the end of the season, but they're still among the worst in the NFL. I mean, think about, not to bring up bad memories, Koff, but Mac Jones wasn't exactly lighting the world on fire, and then he faced the Vikings, and suddenly we're like, wow, Mac Jones looks good again. Vikings defense pulling a lot of weight there.
No, look, I get it. I certainly get it. All right. So, and you just got to love 3 straight nights of primetime football as well. The Ravens and Bengals, we talked about it earlier. It's a sizable spread. Wouldn't be nearly as much so, and maybe even would put a scare into Cincinnati if you had a healthy Lamar Jackson, but we don't, Jeff. So let's start with you on this one. What do you think here? Is Cincinnati ripe to be surprised, even with Tyler Huntley projected to be the quarterback?
I mean, the answer is probably not, but I've already kind of given my opinion where, that like of all the big underdogs, I mean, you should be scared of the Ravens the most. I mean, it's a team with a good defensive line. Like they can absolutely stuff the run. They have a solid pressure rate. The Bengals O-line is better this year, but like it's not the best. And like we see this where really fancy passing offenses sometimes just get shut down because they can't protect their quarterback. So I think that the Bengals probably have learned their lesson. I also think that the Bengals are just a team right now who they feel a little bit disrespected from like having to play last week. I don't think that they're in any way ripe to be bullied here by the Ravens. So I'm not expecting an upset. I just think that the Ravens are a little bit more dangerous than people think. If I was targeting this game, I would probably look at some Joe Burrow overs. Pass completions, I think, is interesting, over 24.5. The Ravens still really good against the run. I think that the Bengals are quite happy to just put this game in Joe Burrow's hands, let him pick apart this offense, get ahead, and just, let Tyler Huntley not do anything. So Burrow probably going to be passing, I think, late into this game, even if they're ahead. And I think that's fine. So I'd be looking at some Burrow overs for props. I'm going to stay off this line, like I said, but if you got it at 6.5, you should still be feeling good, even though I've, probably made you a little nervous, but.
Gary, we know that Joe Burrow's championship window is open because he's still in his career.
What a quote.
Still got a heartbeat.
Yeah.
What a quote.
Still has a heartbeat. Exactly. So what do you think? This going to be as easy as the line would indicate or no?
I think so. I like I said earlier, I think I'm okay still betting this up to 10. But at the same time, I will say, if you're someone who's sort of inclined to maybe just take the points here, because, it is a big line for a Ravens team that, while they haven't had Lamar Jackson recently, they've been pesky. They've hung around in games. But I think the only way the Ravens keep this game close, the only way the Ravens could possibly win this game is if this goes under. So I think if you're just going to bet the Ravens plus 9.5, you might as well parlay that with the under, because that's really the only scenario where I see that happening. And I really, probably just in general, don't mind taking the under here. I know these two teams just played and it went over this number at 40.5, but you look at the Ravens offensive output since they lost Lamar Jackson, they have yet to score more than 20 points in a game without Lamar. They're averaging about 13.5 points per game across their last 6 games. I think their defense is good enough to limit Cincinnati under what our normal expectations of what a Cincinnati offensive game plan would look like. So I think under 40.5 is not a bad play in general. But again, if you're betting Ravens with the points, just stick that with the under, because that's how that's hitting.
Let's go to the final game of Wild Card Weekend. And honestly, it's the one that I find the most interesting, and that is Monday night. It's Tampa Bay playing host to Dallas. I find it the most interesting, guys, because one, even though he's not a Patriot anymore, Tom Brady in the playoffs, that's captivating, even after what was a bad year for this team. And it was a bad year despite winning the division. But also on the other side, where I'm just always intrigued to see how Dallas is going to disappoint its fans in the postseason. So this could be entertaining on either side of the ball, maybe both sides of the ball, and it's a narrow spread as well at 2.5, with Tampa getting the favorite, nod being at home, Gary. And so which way do you lean, and what stands out to you betting wise?
I mean, for all the reasons you sort of just laid out, I think I want to just say Dallas is going to win this game. Dallas should win this game. They've been the second best team in the NFC for a majority. Well, I guess San Francisco is the second best team, but they've been a top 3 team in the NFC for a majority of this season. Dak has certainly made some mistakes. I mean, his play has been up and down the last half of the season. He's been very turnover prone, which is not a little window you want to give Tom Brady. But at the same time, I mean, every time I watch the Buccaneers, they look absolutely terrible. Unless they're down 2 touchdowns with 4 minutes left to go. This seems so much like you let Tom Brady into the playoffs. He's looked terrible. Everyone thinks he's dead, and he somehow beats Dallas. And like you said, Koff, it continues this cycle of just Dallas letting down their fans in the playoffs over and over and over again. I mean, Tampa's got a good run defense that should help them certainly against Dallas. I don't know. I'm gonna take the Cowboys because it's what my sort of what the analysis says to do, and it's what my eye test says to do. But I know full well Brady might win this game.
Nah,
Jeff.
Nah. Look, if the money was coming in on the Cowboys and we had the peak Cowboys and they're so good, and the Dallas Cowboys, everyone's like dark horse Super Bowl pick, I'd be concerned. But I think that I think that the Cowboys have actually created like a really nice betting opportunity. If they win handily last week, and let's say the Bucs don't put up like 1 billion points against Carolina, or just like, like Brady doesn't have that big day against Carolina, this line could easily be, at least Cowboys 3.5 or bigger, but it's 2.5. And like, there's nothing that the Bucs have done better than the Cowboys. Like, they're not a better team in any facet. The Cowboys, didn't have Tony Pollard for a game. There was no reason for them to play in that Week 18 game. The Chargers and the Cowboys, there's no more when you don't have motivation as an NFL player, like that's a massive thing. So I kind of understand why they lost that game, and it doesn't worry me at all. Like I said, I think it's created a good betting opportunity. Like the CeeDee Lamb against the secondary is going to have an absolute day. Dalton Schultz is going to get open in the red zone. And Dak is concerning. Like, he's up and down. The Cowboys can be up and down. They can lose to anybody, but they can also beat anybody. And I think that we've got a spot where they know what happened, and they know people are talking down about them. I think they're going to bounce back. I think this game may not even be close. I really do. I think Dallas could put up 30, and Tampa's going to do what they did all year, which is just really struggled to score points. Really just a poor red zone offense versus a very good red zone defense, actually. And I think that's going to create a ton of problems for the Bucs. So this is probably my favorite line to bet, just because it's under 3. And I think the Cowboys are a clear better team.
So I may have said the Bucs were the favorites in this one. If I did, I apologize, but you can see the truth on your screen, so it's okay. You know what's going on in this one. 2.5. The Cowboys are favored. That one is in Tampa, though. But I mean, screw it. It doesn't matter. The Bucs should be the favorites because, as our guy T Pike tells us, Tom Brady's 7-0 in his career against Dallas anyway. So honestly, just bet the money line at the plus 120 on Tampa and make yourself some cash, because Tom Brady doesn't disappoint this time of year unless he's playing the Giants.
That includes games against like Steve Walsh from back in the day or something, like come on.
Quincy Carter. I wonder if you played Quincy Carter.
They all count the same. In the interest of time, we only have 5-6 minutes left, if that. But let's, I want to pay off what we said off the top, which is this is an all sports show. Let's mix in a little NBA. Gary, and your favorite plays tonight, be it DFS or bets on the DK Sportsbook. You tell me. I will throw out first, though, that Giannis is out. If anyone missed that, he's not playing tonight. That is your, biggest absence in terms of, key players. But Luka, Joel Embiid, LeBron, all in excellent spots tonight. So go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll say probably my favorite bet on the board, just from a plus money perspective. I like the Lakers plus 130 on the money line. Dallas has been terrible this season on the road. They're actually 7-20 ATS their past 27 games on the road. This season, they're just 7-13 straight up on the road. The Lakers getting LeBron James back tonight. We found out today that Patrick Beverley won't play in this game, but it seems like Troy Brown Jr. is going to be back for them. So they should have a little bit more behind just Russ and LeBron in this contest. And they've been better as of late. They've been 6-4 in their last 10 games. They've got the 11th best net rating in the NBA in that span of time. I just think this is a little too much disrespect for the Lakers as a home team. I also, even with the Jaylen Brown uncertainty, I like the Celtics minus 1.5 on the road. The Nets have been a different team without Kevin Durant this season. They're outscoring opponents by almost 7 points per 100 possessions when Durant is on the court. They're getting outscored by 2 points per 100 possessions when he is off the court. The Celtics also haven't been the best ATS team lately, but they've been really good this season at the games where, prime time against a big Eastern Conference opponent where they have to step up. They're 6-1 ATS this season against teams with a winning percentage above 600 or 60%. So they've been really good against the other upper echelon teams in the NBA this season. So I'll ride with the Celtics. And then a player prop that I like, Pascal Siakam, 25.5 points. I'll take the over on that tonight. Pretty much rule of thumb when you're working with anything Hornets related, pick a guy who's over 6'9" on the other team who plays in the paint. They're going to score a lot of points in that game. The Hornets are dreadful against interior players. In the last 10 games, they are bottom 10 in the league in both defensive rating and paint points allowed to opponents. They're also second in pace. So it's going to be a really up-tempo game. The Raptors just hung 132 points on them on Tuesday. Siakam had 28. He's cleared this 9 of his last 12 games. I think he gets it done again today.
And look, Kyrie Irving is going to be very good tonight because he has to be. No Kevin Durant for Brooklyn, as you talked about. But I am offended by the 1.5 Celtics, even without Al Horford.
It was 3, and then Jaylen Brown popped up on the injury report. So
yeah, no, they'll be fine. All right, Jeff, NHL, what do you got for us? Big slate tonight.
So we'll start off with the Avalanche. The Blackhawks are going to start Peter Mrazek, in net. He's probably the worst goalie in the league. Avalanche need to get going here. Minus 1.5 on the puck line and minus 125 seems like a short number. It should probably be about minus 150. I kind of like Evan Rodriguez there playing on the top line for a goal prop. He's at over plus 200. The Avalanche need to get going. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they put up 5 or 6 and just won very handily. They haven't played terribly either. Like, they're getting some of their guys back, but I think that it's high due time they start killing some of these teams again. I like the Rangers tonight. It's a little bit based on an injury thing. Rupe Hintz is questionable. I haven't seen him ruled out, but he's not 100%. So the Stars eked out a win against the Islanders, but the Rangers have far better center depth with Trocheck and Zibanejad. So Rangers have played well at home, 6-7 there. It's a pretty tough goaltending matchup, but again, with the Rangers being at home here, Dallas, start a road trip, not have their best center. I'm surprised that you can still get Dallas minus 125. I thought they'd be around minus 140. So I like that on the money line. And then if you want goals, there's gonna be a lot of
goals.
Jets and Sabres. Sabres got back their starter, whose name I can't pronounce, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen or something. He's been sick.
That's right. Yeah.
There's going to be Connor Hellebuyck didn't play well his last game. And the Jets have all their forwards back. So there should be a ton of goals here. I kind of like playing like alt lines here, like even over 7.5 goals, but the over 6.5 is definitely in play for me too.
I just want to know how you would spell that on the back of a jersey.
And would it be hyphenated? Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Yeah, I think that's right.
All right. We got to go because we're told we have to, but we've had fun with you, and all of this, I guess maybe for the last 5 minutes is, kind of evergreen for a couple days. So go back, relive, rewatch, enjoy it. Twitter, YouTube, obviously it'll be archived as well. So make sure you do watch that and learn and bet and make some money, folks. We hope you do. Sweat tomorrow at 11, Slate about the same time as this one here tomorrow. Matt LaMarca will be here. I expect to be here and maybe one of these two guys as well. Thanks to Gary and thanks to Moose. Thanks to Eamon. Thanks to T Pike. I'm Adam. We'll see you later.